So today's conversation is not simply about a company, a title, or a public role. It's about a woman who answered a call to serve, even when that call required courage, patience, and sacrifice. Natacha Pennycooke work is deeply rooted in community, dignity, and care. But what makes her journey so powerful is how personal it is. This is a woman to woman conversation, one grounded in story, responsibility, and becoming. We are here to listen to not to only what she has built, but why she felt compelled to build it, to understand the people her work uplifts, and to honor the emotional and spiritual weight that comes with being entrusted with the lives and hopes of others. So, Natacha, welcome. And I'm so grateful for your presence and your honesty and willingness to let us witness the woman behind the work today. How have
Thank you
you been?
so much for having me on Woman to Woman. I'm so excited to be here to have this conversation and also just to connect, right? To be able to be woman to woman, to
Right.
connect, to be here to share space together. So thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I know we've talked a little bit, and I've gotten a little bit of background, of course, also with the research that I've done, researching your company. But what I want to start with, number one, I want to start with just focusing on you, on the woman
Hmm.
herself.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first question is going to be who she is, and not what she is, and when you think about yourself beyond titles and responsibilities, who is Natasha at her core?
What a great question. And this question literally makes me want to like just grab, like grab that chest area, like who am I at my core? Honestly, when I think of this and I think of myself, who I am at my core, I deeply, deeply know in my heart of hearts and core of core that God has ordained such a gift on my life. And at my core, it is doing doing that, doing that, making sure that that thing I was given, that all of us are given, but I want to make sure that thing that I was given, that when my time is done in this world,
Hmm. Right.
that I've used every single last bit of drop of that thing. And I don't even feel like I even touched it yet. I know there's so much there. And
Right.
there's so much there to use and to use up. And I feel like I'm just getting like going in that thing. And that thing is really to help people to be seen, to be heard, to make space for the
Right.
core of who a person is. We live in a world that often doesn't see people, doesn't
True.
value people, doesn't value
True.
the humanity that we all have and we all show up with. We see in this world where the titles are valued, the names are valued, the letters before and after names, money is valued, but
Yeah.
not so much that core of who a person is, the essence of who that person is, the value that that person brings when they walk into a room and they light you up and you just feel so good in their presence. Like that is not value nowadays.
You're
And
right.
in the work that I do, I get to pull that out of people.
Right.
I get to
That's
pull
awesome.
that out of people. And these are people who've gone through hurt and pain and trauma where they're living small, right? They've kind of like smalled up themselves. They're living small because of the pain that they've gone through. And I truly know that for me, my calling is to walk in that, to walk in that for me, but also be that pillar for other people to get to that place.
That is so much needed today. That is
Yeah.
definitely you are doing a work. So how does it feel to sit in in this moment of your life, considering where you've been and who you've become?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. It really causes me to pause, right?
Uh-huh.
Because, like, where I am in this moment of my life, I don't take enough time, and I don't think a lot of people do, but for myself, I don't take enough time to pause and to see
Okay.
where am I. And I know that's something, like I teach clients in terms of like take moments through gratitude. I don't do that enough to be in
Right.
that moment, to look at where I am. So when I am given questions like this, it allows me the opportunity, the intentional opportunity to take
Mm-hmm.
that moment and pause. And when I look at where I am and what I built, there's just such a beauty about it. I want to tell the story. I have a new clinician on my team, a young woman who's a very fabulous clinician as a social worker. And she's also a racialized individual, but she said to me that, to see a woman of color, a Black woman, a racialized woman,
Right.
where I am in this role, it really shows her that, anything is possible for women to be in this space. And
Right.
it's moments when people are reflecting back to me what they see that I do take
Right.
those times. So, like being able to look back and be like, okay, look what I've built. Look at the practice that I
Yeah.
built, the people that I've touched. Look at the chapters in a book that I have written, right? The
Right.
people that, all of that. So being able to pause and look at it. Sometimes, I will be very honest, sometimes I I'm still kind of like, oh yeah, I did that. But the little girl, the little Natasha who's still living inside is like, you did that. You did that. You said you're gonna do it and you did that. All right. So I do have to take those moments to be
It's got
reflective.
to be fulfilling. It's got to be
Yes.
fulfilling.
It's absolutely fulfilling. It is. It is. And I don't want it to seem like I'm not fulfilled or grateful, because
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely am. Like all the people that I've gotten to work with and companies that I've gotten to show up for, and people that,
Right.
who've been able to say that I've really changed their life, their trajectory of their life. It is very much fulfilling, and that I get to do that work.
Right.
There's that piece that I get to do that work. And
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
powerful. I'm sorry,
yeah.
excuse me. If you hear any little tick, tick, tick going around, I have a little small Yorkie that loves the camera for some reason. And every time I get on camera, he wants to come and be a part of the set. So I'm trying
That's
to shut him
okay.
away.
That's okay.
um, so let's start. Let's focus or move to the roots in your commitment, right? And to the community. So long before your company, what experiences shaped your relationship, community, and service and advocacy?
Yeah. So I take this back to Natasha, that little girl, the little Black girl living in a space where I didn't see myself represented.
Right,
Right. And it's so important that I recognize those spaces, because a lot of the work that I do primarily has been rooted in trauma and anti-Black racism and racial trauma. And the reality is that I came into that out of necessity and survival, because there
right,
was one time where Natasha was this little girl living in an area where it's a primarily white dominant area. And I was a lot of time the only, right? The only little Black girl in like Girl Guides or
hmm
in school, in jazz ballet, like these things that a lot of little girls get to
just like
do.
right,
But I never was seeing myself represented. Never was seeing
right,
myself represented. Never seeing like someone who looked like me or had like the cultural background. I'm Afro-Caribbean, Canadian, and no, not seeing anyone with that like intersectional background, right? So
right,
there's like a lot of nuances that were lost in who I was around. So being
right.
able to go back and be like, the core of the community work that I do now is
hmm
really being able to show up and be that representation for people. And the funny thing is that even with my business, I wasn't seeing myself
hmm
represented. So
Right.
at one point, it was like, okay, I'm not seeing him, I'm not seeing him, I'm not seeing him. I'm just going to go and make it. And then being
That's
that representation for other people, right? It just
right.
kind of came up because I did not see it. So I became it. And I think that when I think over the trajectory of my life, that when I was a little girl, I didn't see it. So I became it.
Right.
I became it for that younger version of me. And then I
Right.
became it and I am it for all those other people out there who are now coming up.
I like that you said that because basically that's just the pioneer in you. So just to segue into that, I mean, what is it like being a pioneer? I mean, to, like you
Oh
said, to
gosh.
go and actually bring into existence something that was so much needed for,
Yeah.
like you said, people of color.
Yeah. So it's so funny that you mentioned like being a pioneer because
Mhm.
someone last week said that. So we have a perimenopause group that's running. We also have a
Right,
men's group that's running in our clinic. And
right,
someone said those same words that we are the pioneers. And it's funny how like on the outside, it's like, yes, doing something new, doing something different. While inside, it's always the this is what I'm going through. No one's doing it. Let's just jump in and be the one who does it because no one else is doing it. But
right.
it's being the pioneer. Part of being a pioneer is making sure you got these big ideas and you're
Hmm.
like throwing it and saying that no one else is doing it. Oh well, it's still needed. Let me go and be
Let
the
me
one
go
that's
do
doing.
it.
Let me go do it, right? And that comes on the business lens, that is an amazing thing because you're solving a problem that has not been solved yet. But it's also
Right,
like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's throw it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what sticks. Right.
right.
So yeah, there's all these different layers of
Hmm.
being a pioneer. There's those layers of no one's thought of it. I'm going to run and do it. On how do you
Right,
get support for doing it? Because sometimes people want that proof, right? They want that social proof that it's going to work. But if
right,
you're a pioneer, you're just starting it out.
right.
So
So
yeah, it's an interesting.
thank you for look. Thank you for having, I have to say, the strength, the backbone,
Yeah.
and really the tenacity to actually, step into that realm because to be honest with you, not everyone is built for that, and it takes on a lot and trying to push through because you have to when you can't, like you say, when you can't see it, you have to stay committed. And so, that takes a lot. That really takes a
Does.
lot.
It
That
does.
just
It
speaks
does.
to the
It takes a
character.
drive. It takes the character, the tenacity, as you said, the
Yes,
drive, that
yes,
push through.
yes.
It honestly, it takes a little bit of, how do I say this? It takes a little bit of, who cares about what everyone else is going to say? This is needed. I'm going to do it.
Right.
It takes a big piece of that too,
It
right?
does. It
Yeah.
does. And that's why I
Yeah.
said because so many people fold, especially once the pressure comes down and maybe it's not moving the way you want it to move or the way you envision it to move.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of people walk away during those times. So, to like you said, the tenacity, that's all that character and strength to say, okay, I'm sticking with it. So
Yes.
thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
was there a personal experience that made this work feel non-negotiable for you, not optional but necessary?
Mm, such a great question. I would say there's lots of different experiences throughout my life.
Right.
So, interesting enough, I come from a household that had a lot of family dysfunction going on
Right.
in the household. My father was an alcoholic, he drank a lot. And with that, for those of you who have been in similar situations, there's a lot of physical violence that has happened as well throughout my life, throughout my childhood. And part of that, these experiences, there's always this piece of me that questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was questioning like, what is going on? Why is this going on?
Right.
What are other ways that things can be done? How are other families operating? What are some of the things that drive someone to cope in this way? Because now knowing now as an adult and as a clinician, as a psychotherapist, knowing that these are
Mm-hmm.
coping patterns, right? These are coping patterns that my father did not have other access to, and this was the access that he had. So it really caused me to, as an adult, to have these questions about, why are certain things the way they are? What has
Right.
led to this? So a lot of times I speak about, generational trauma and intergenerational trauma. So just understanding like through the generations, what has
Mm-hmm.
happened or what goes on to to lend a person to do the certain things that they do, right?
Right.
And that goes back to environment for all of us. Like we've all been socialized in different environments, in different families, different situations that we are constantly trying to live out of, cope out of, deal with.
Right, right.
Right. And the thing is, in our dealing with and in our coping, sometimes we deal and cope with it very well, and sometimes we don't.
True.
So it's
That's true.
recognizing that, some of the things that I've experienced in my life, I had certain choices and maybe even say certain privileges to cope in a way that ended up being healthy,
Awesome.
right? To be able
Awesome.
to go and do this work and seek out my own supports.
Right.
And instead of, maybe coping in different ways for trying to numb all of that hurt and pain, what I turned it into really was purpose. And I actually
Yes.
say to a lot of the people that I work with that I see you. Like fundamentally, I see you because I've been there.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing when you can like you said, turn your pain into purpose and then give back to those who are now, traveling that same road and don't know where to go, where to look, or what to do or how to cope and how to get
Mm.
out. So that makes me ask this question. What did you learn early on about the people you now serve? Lessons that still guide how you show up today?
Yeah. Oh wow. Um, I guess so. I'll say it this way.
Hmm.
There are times when, I have my therapist hat on and I can
Hmm.
come to you and intellectualize and all things. And there's times when I have my therapist hat off and I'm still like, I don't even know why people are doing certain things and all of that, right? And I say that to
Hmm.
be very straightforward and very human, that we all go through really hard things,
Right.
right? Every single
Right.
person listening to this podcast, friends of yours, we've all gone through things. Some things we've shared with people, some things we have not shared with people. So it's
Right.
about really getting to that place of understanding it. And understanding doesn't mean that you have to get it or you have to live it, but it's making space for that person, for that person's story. And,
True.
as I've said, there's times that I have my therapist hat on, I can get it. But there's also times when things are still confusing and still trying to figure things out, right? And
Right.
because people have their own experiences, sometimes fundamentally it's really hard to understand what that person has lived and what that person has gone through and how they're still making sense of the world around them and navigating the world,
Right. Right.
right? So, like these different experiences that I have gone through, they have given me the opportunities to get it, to understand that we all go through our own stuff, our own hurt, our own pain. But also, what it does, it helps me to have that empathy for people.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Makes
but then
sense.
in all of that, it's still people are people and humans are humans. And sometimes we're very much still surprised with what people will do or choose to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like they say, out of desperation, most decisions are made. So,
Yes, a lot of times.
unfortunately.
And a lot of times the desperation is not knowing any other way,
Hmm.
not knowing that there's any other choice. A lot of the people that we've been working with, myself and our and on our team,
Hmm.
don't know that they have a choice. Right? The
Right.
world has not given them an opportunity to action their choice. The world
Right.
has made decisions for individuals. So whether it is, we're talking about someone who's experienced racism and prejudice and discrimination, the world has made decisions for that person already. Or
True. You're right.
someone, right? Or someone who's going through reliving childhood traumas. Those traumas and the individuals who took away their control made choices for those individuals. So a lot of
Right.
times people are really struggling that, I have a choice. I have a voice. I'm allowed to use it because the world has told me otherwise. So still trying to
Right.
figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's saddening sometimes, it's disheartening because, it's like you said, you've come out the gate already behind
Mm, yeah.
and trying to catch up. It's like you're trying to catch up, but no matter what you do, it's like you're still
You're still
behind.
behind.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move towards the work and who it touches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about your work, you often um, speak about people first. Why is that so important to you?
Yeah.
And before we go there, because I didn't introduce the actual company because I know we're going to do another segment with that, and I wanted to focus mainly on you. But can we take just this moment just to say who Tasha Pennycooke is, and the organization that she heads up and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm Natacha Pennycooke. I am a registered psychotherapist. I'm the CEO and founder of Natacha Pennycooke Psychotherapy and Consulting Services. We are a boutique group psychotherapy practice where we help individuals who are going through a plethora of mental health challenges and concerns. So, whether it is trauma, anxiety, depression, whether it is you're going through postpartum issues, men
Right,
issues, women's issues, whether it is you're struggling as a couple, maybe there's been infidelity or infertility, or maybe you're struggling with boundaries and communications, whether you're a youth who really needs the support as you're navigating new stress and stressors, we are there to help you with your mental health. We also go into different organizations to help them with their mental health strategy, with their workplace communication, also going in to talk a lot about psychological safety within the workplace. And we're really, the core of what we do is that people first, that human first, in whatever situation that person is. So, whether in your personal life, in your professional life, we work a lot with high achieving professionals who identify as being racialized because we know that a lot of times racialized professionals don't have that space to
right,
go to. We know that a lot of time on the upper echelons of leadership, we're not seeing racialized and Black folks a lot of time on the upper echelons of leadership. So then we have the subset of individuals who are professionals and racialized, and they have a lot of various intersecting identities. And it's like,
right,
where can I go to get the care that I need from a
right,
lens that I come from? So a lot of our clientele, whether it is individuals, couples, or different corporations, are coming from those lenses, and they really appreciate having an organization to go to that sees them, the whole them.
right, right, right. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that.
Yeah.
The whole pie, not just a piece of
The
it.
whole, not just a little piece of it. You can bring your whole self care, and we make space for all of it, all of
Yes.
you.
Okay, so who and I know we have touched on it here and there, but who are the individuals or communities most impacted by what you do? And what do you wish more people understood about their reality?
Mm-hmm. So interesting. I was having this conversation today with one of our teammates
Hmm.
on the word community, right?
Okay.
A lot of times when people think of community, the idea of underserved communities may come up,
Okay.
right? Um, and one thing that we're recognizing, we are helping community of communities. So these
Right.
are individuals who either, whether it is different non-for-profit organizations, other small businesses to B2B, or B2 corporations, we're helping people who ultimately want to be seen. We're
Right.
helping people who come from a space of wanting to make sure that they're able to access wellness. And when we think of that, right, the ability to access wellness, that is not only for one community or another.
Right.
Every community right across the board wants to be able to access wellness. So whether it is the individuals that we work with or non-for-profits or individuals that we work with on a corporate level, people
Right.
want to be able to access wellness.
That's
So
true.
when we really think about like the who that we serve, we do
Mhm.
serve those high achieving professionals. And that
Right.
could be, we have some youth who are late teens who are in the practice. They are in their right, they're high achieving, right? They're high
Oh,
achieving young folks and they're going through school and they're dealing with the stress. They're high achieving. They see themselves and
they
they
are.
identify as high achieving. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have lawyers and doctors and executives and directors and all that who want to come in because they're high achieving as well and they want to access wellness. So
Right.
really when I think about this question on like who do we serve? Yes, we serve high achieving professionals who are racialized or who have a equity, a deserving identity, who want to access wellness and who maybe have not had the chance to do that before.
Right. That's amazing what you're doing, and they need it, especially like you said, because the stress level on those persons who are functioning in that atmosphere, like you said, of high achieving, it can be, oh my goodness, it can be overwhelming.
It could be a lot. It could be overwhelming. And I will
Mhm.
tell you this, we have people that we've been working with who, on the outside, someone will be like, oh, yeah, they're a doctor, they're a lawyer, and all this. But for a lot of those individuals on the inside, half the
Right.
time they feel like they're struggling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With the stress of maintaining,
Yeah.
right? Because they've worked really hard to get to whatever echelon they're at, but it's to
Hmm.
maintain, to stay there, to navigate all the stressors that come at that level,
Right.
right?
Right.
And a lot of times they're navigating multiple hats and identities, whether it's being a parent, sometimes a caregiver,
Yes.
sometimes an executive with a team. Sometimes they've been in positions where they have to let people go and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I know what the economy is
Right.
like, and I have this on me. And they're
Yeah.
coming in for support for themselves as they're navigating how do I let my team go, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really those other sides that people may not automatically think of where the struggle is, but a
Right.
lot of the individuals that we're working with right across the board are struggling in one way or another.
Hmm. And I can understand that because especially like as you were saying, having to let someone go and so forth,
Yeah,
there's a power struggle
yeah,
there sometimes to
yes,
stay
yes,
humble and to
yes,
stay in that place of humanity. But at the
yeah.
same time, there's been a certain level of power giving and to balance that. That can be exhausting.
Yes. And that's
So
the word. It's exhausting. It's
it is.
exhausting to be juggling and managing, right? So it's in
Right.
recognizing that as individuals are dealing with that and juggling that, how then are they also accessing their support so they can stay well?
Right. Right. And then like you said also, because they have a professional life and then they have a home life, and
Yeah,
then trying to keep to make sure they don't bleed into each other, you know.
yeah,
I know with like a lot of doctors, they say they have a God complex, and it's
mm,
kind of understandable because you have to have a certain level of confidence within yourself to go in and save lives. You have to,
mm-hmm,
in whatever aspect or whatever profession of being a doctor, right? So again, balancing that out and keeping the humanity in there, and keeping yourself grounded to say, yes, I'm confident I can do this, and this is what I'm trained to do, and I have the skill set, but not to tip over into the God complex. So
right, right, exactly.
mhm. So who what needs are you responding to through your work that often are unseen or are misunderstood? And I think we kind of touched on this just then.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
so just to segue into a couple of things, like maybe emotional needs or system gaps in human dignity. Like
mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah. And I think, some of those system gaps,
Mhm.
we kind of touched on, but a lot of those system gaps is not, so I'll kind of say this where it's learning that there are gaps in the system,
Right.
and especially when it comes to mental health care,
Right.
right? There are gaps in the system. And I know it's different. I'm here in Canada, the Ontario area, and you're in the States. But what we're seeing, I think, just a generalization, there has been a gap in
Right.
mental health care. So it's in recognizing how our work is helping people to advocate for themselves
Okay.
within these systems. So whether it is with their primary care, family doctors, um, we know that a lot of times, especially racialized folks, when they're going in for care with their family doctors, that they may not be getting the care that a lot some professionals may decrease the reality of maybe the pain or the severity of what
Right.
individuals are actually going through, right? So a lot of the
Right.
stuff that we're doing is to help people to advocate for themselves within the system. And then it's
Right.
like understanding that the emotional need that's there, it's also about how do I take care of my mental health and physical health, my holistic health, so that I can show up as human and advocate for my human dignity, to be seen, to
Right.
be taken care of. I mean, we're
Right.
hearing so many different situations in Canada and the States of individuals who are going to access emergency rooms and their pain not being taken seriously, right?
Yes,
There's even different shows, dramatization shows, but they're showcasing very real
hmm
situations that are
they are.
happening for racialized individuals, right? So it's
They are.
like part of that response through the work that we're doing is the advocacy, right?
Right.
Advocacy, this like the healthcare advocacy, being able to say that, you know, it's really hard for me to go in, or we've had clients say that my doctor has given me this medication and I'm supposed to take it, but they're not hearing me. They're not listening to me,
Right.
what I'm going through. So
Right.
part of the advocacy has been sometimes, professional. And this is where I will gladly utilize my privilege to say, okay, give me consent to contact your doctor. I will go professional to professional and consult and saying, these
Right.
are some of the things that we are working on. This is the support that we need from your side because we want to work holistically for this individual. So it's
Right.
recognizing those system gaps and allowing someone to advocate for themselves, and also teaching someone that in order for you to advocate, you may have to pull in your systems, your
Right.
support systems to help
Right.
you to advocate.
hmm I
Right.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So can you share a moment or a story that reminded you why this work matters, even when it feels heavy?
Yeah. I guess a personal story, and I share this at the beginning of a chapter that I wrote in a book.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how I even got into doing this work, where yeah, very, very interesting. And
Yeah.
it's a more of a tragic story, but it's a story that literally changed the trajectory of my life and
Right.
what I do, right?
hmm
So I go back to the Natasha who was like 18, 19 years old. But at
hmm
that time, it was this was years ago now, like 20 something years ago. But it
hmm
was, I had an aunt who had passed away.
Right.
And
Okay.
right, I had an aunt who had passed away, and her funeral was on the same day as an exam that I had. And, this is why I talk about advocacy so much. It's so important. I didn't advocate. I didn't know about advocacy back then, but
Right.
I went and I did the exam, right? I
Right.
did the exam. I missed my aunt's funeral and all the family was there. Everyone was there and I missed it. And I will tell you, I didn't do the exam. I sat there and cried the whole time. I cried the
Oh.
whole time, the whole time, the whole time. And obviously, I failed that exam. And
Mhm.
it changed the trajectory because that was an exam in physics, and the plan was to go into biology and all of that. And, from failing that exam, I wasn't able to go on and pursue what at that time was my plan A. So I
Right.
had to do what my plan B.
Right.
And, there's so much use of biology still in the psychology world that it was quote unquote fairly easy transition. But when I really think back to the impact of my aunt passing and not going to the funeral and just how not feeling like I had the support or even the know-how to be able to, nowadays it'd be like, okay, you just tell your teacher that you have a funeral that day and you redo it. But
Right.
back then, that wasn't even like an inclination that I was
Right.
allowed to do.
Right. Right.
So when I really think back over the course of my life, that was such a pivotal moment in my life that came out of such tragedy and something so hard and so heartbreaking. So I always
Mhm.
go back to that story because, my aunt, while she's passed like 25 years now, um, it was such a pivotal moment that really changed the course of my whole life, right?
Right.
My
Right.
whole entire life. So
Yeah.
it's like
Kind of like
it's
she's the one that now
yeah,
is
kind of like a
responsible.
catalyst, right? Yeah, yes, yes. And I'm glad that you said that because in a lot of ways it is. It's like in such a tragic time in her passing, things were kind of put in place for me to like find my purpose and my calling, right?
Mhm.
And it's such a hard way to think about it, but at the same time, there's multiple pieces that are being impacted all at the same time, right? And I will share this for a really long time in my life, and I mean a long time. I had such a hard time processing grief
Oh,
and
wow.
loss and sadness because of that moment where I wasn't, I felt at that time like I wasn't allowed to grieve with everybody else,
Right. Right.
right? Because everyone was there at the funeral and everything. And I was at school sitting in an auditorium to write an exam that I end up crying over for like 3 hours. And
Right.
it's a big part of me that had to do a lot of my own therapeutic work that, I wasn't allowed or I wasn't allowing myself to process grief or to go through grief and to go through a lot of those hard things. And by
Right.
doing all that work, I was even able to write that chapter in the book. I mean, I can sit and tell you how hard it was to write those few pages. And it's a chapter. It's like, I don't know, it's like 15 pages. But when I mean the therapy that I had to go through to be able to write those 15 pages,
Right.
I had to get myself in a place where I gave myself permission and allowance to process my own grief because I hadn't. And I hadn't even realized that I was
Uh-huh.
holding all of that in, right?
Wow.
I was
Uh-huh.
really great at making the space for other people's grief and other people's hurt, but I was
Right.
continuously, again, from my environment of that time, I was
Right.
neglecting my own ability to process any
Oh,
of that
wow.
art and any of that grief, right? So absolutely such a breakthrough moment for me and in my life. Just giving myself that permission and allowance to be with my grief and be in my hurt and not to believe the things that I may have told myself, the younger version of
Right.
me may have told myself about,
I got you.
right? All of those pieces. So yeah, yeah, a really,
Wow.
really pivotal piece. Yeah.
That's amazing. And, and I'm glad you said that because, a lot of times, like, especially in trauma, excuse me, trauma healing and coaching, um, when you're going through and you're coming through, and the fact that, like you said, that you were helping others in that space, but you had not made space for your own to deal with and to actually process yourself through that, but you were still able to show up for other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a number one. I want to commend you because that takes a lot. Number two, that speaks to the fact that just because someone has not fully transitioned through something that they're working through, to the other side where they're, as they say, healed, or at least able to cope with it better, does not mean that they cannot help others do or at least
Yes,
start the journey.
absolutely. I mean, how many times do we hear, right? Like people are able to treat other people sometimes better than they treat themselves. Let's just be
Yes.
real, right?
I think that's most of us.
I
Yes.
absolutely. And there's so many times, and I'm saying this from professional colleagues of mine who've
Mhm.
also gone through hard things and they're showing up. There's so many of us out there who bury self in work when
Right.
things get hard because
Yep.
it's that distraction. It's
Yes.
so hard to point fingers at self. It's so easy to point fingers at someone else.
I
Right?
agree. I
It's
agree.
so, yes, it's so easy to be like, you need to change this, you need to da, 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 da. But it's so
Hmm.
hard to be able to sit with self and make
Yeah.
space for self to go through the healing process, the trauma journey. It's so
Right.
hard. So it's so important that we do that. Right. And
Right.
like, as you said earlier in our beginning of our conversation, like, do I ever stop and think about like what I've done? And that's why
Hmm.
I intentionally have to make that space because it's so easy to get
Right.
rolled up in helping other people
Right.
without taking that pause and making sure self is good too.
Right. That is truly important.
Yeah,
Truly,
and
truly.
that's a reminder for everyone listening, right?
Right.
You cannot, like,
Yes,
literal analogy, you can't pour. What is it? You can't pour from an empty cup.
you can.
You have to make sure that you are well, that you are healed, that you're going through your journey, that you're making space
Yes.
for yourself, that you're recognizing giving yourself gratitude and permission and all of that to
Right.
be able to give to other people. Because if not, you will burn out. And we've seen this many times in the work that both of
Yes.
us do, right?
Yes. Yes. We even gone. I know I've gone through
Yes,
it.
absolutely. Yes.
So yes. So how do you carry the responsibility of being trusted with people's stories, healings, and hope?
Mm, that's such a beautiful question. There's a beauty in that question, the healing and the hope.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there's something to be said for experience.
Okay.
And I share this because in my earlier, beginning career, I've always done trauma. So right at the
Hmm.
beginning of my career, um, I used to do sexual assault trauma in the emergency room with
Hmm.
individuals who are just coming in right out of their experience.
Right.
And that was such a hard space because I took everything
Mhm.
with me, right? Like
Right.
what someone looked like when they were coming in, what they were going through, the information that was given to the police, and all of it. It was so, so hard.
Right.
And in that, and especially doing that work, when someone was at their lowest, literally lowest point in
Hmm.
their life where, the thing, whatever had happened, was very fresh, where a lot of times it was like 10 minutes, half an hour ago, something like that, where individuals were coming in.
Right.
And being able to make that space for someone and still see the person behind all the hurt that they're going through, the shock
Right. Right.
that they're going through. So, like, carrying that responsibility ended up being that, you know, this what has just happened to you
Uh-huh.
is so hard and so new and so fresh. I'm
Right.
here with you. Like I'm seeing you, what you've gone through, and let's get you
Right.
through this moment. So the
Right.
responsibility that I'm seeing is it's a big responsibility, but it's also the moment by moment responsibility
Okay.
that's coming up. Um, and I say it comes with experience because as I've gone over the course of my career, it's learning how to hold that responsibility, but not to take it in so much and let it affect so much, right?
Okay.
Like take away from self. And I say that specifically because in that role, I stayed in that role maybe a year and a half because it was really hard and really heavy. It was like,
Wow.
heavy, heavy trauma. And I recognized that it was too hard to stay in because I myself was like thinking about people, what they were going through, what they looked like when they come in. Some people who came in were battered and bruised and bleeding, right? And it was like so
Hmm.
fresh. Um, and I'm sorry if this is triggering for anyone that's listening,
Right.
but it's in recognizing that I'm trusted with this person's story, that I'm
Right.
that safe space in this moment for that person's story.
Right.
And what really hit me for a lot of the individuals in that role that I was in, after
Hmm.
we did everything, the shock called the police, took DNA samples, everything was done. Blood tests and medication, everything. A lot of times it was like, okay, you have everything. Here's your package. Here's your follow-up appointment for myself and my colleagues and everything. Usually then at that point, as I'm walking them out or helping them to get in a taxi or someone came to pick them up,
Hmm.
that's when the tears came from them,
Oh,
right? Like the tears are like, okay, you've helped me through all of this and now this is safe. So that's a responsibility and it is big to carry. It is
it
big
is.
to carry. And this is why it's so important that, individuals like us who do the trauma work, it's so important that we have our own support as well
Right.
because it is a big responsibility to carry. Um, and being able to have people's trust,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Definitely.
we can only help, or I'll say this for myself, I can only help someone heal as much as I'm healed and I'm taking care of myself, which then goes and helps that person bring the hope,
Right.
right? It then helps to bring the hope to that individual that there is hope that you will heal and that you will get better because you're getting comfortable holding that story that you have. But
Right.
ultimately, it's helping someone to be the holder of their own story,
I like that. I like
right?
that.
And it
I
is, it
like that,
is.
and it is, and it's so true. That's why I said, and I
Yeah,
like that the way I like the way you put that. I really do because you're
yeah,
right. It is, and
yeah.
then so important, like you said about having our own support system because even like especially what you were doing, what you where you started out, you put that risk of secondary trauma, being yourself traumatized.
Absolutely. Yes.
So definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
And that secondary trauma, some people call it vicarious trauma, you're picking
mhm.
up on that. It's a very real,
It
right?
is.
It's very real. And, you know, people go through it every single day, especially things that we see now in the media. It's so prevalent and so there, so
Yes.
present, right?
So
Where we're
it
seeing
is.
all of those things. So it is important that whether you're doing this trauma work or whether it is you're going through your own trauma or whether it is you're seeing things online, it's so
Mhm.
important that you continuously do your own work.
That's
And,
true.
we talk about self-care, but well, let's go beyond that. It's not only, the bubble baths and the mani pedis and the spa days,
Right.
even though those are amazing, but
Yes.
it's really taking that moment every day to check in on self. Am I okay today? Am
Yes.
I well today?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Um, let me see.
Yeah.
Chance, you go over there. I'm sorry. So, I want to touch on starting the company. So at what point did you realize that building a company was the most effective way to serve the community you cared about? Mm.
So I want to put it like this, kind of like in this kind of story.
Okay.
I started, I started the company
Mm-hmm.
after being in a toxic work environment,
Ah.
right? and I and I say it,
Okay.
I say, yeah,
Yes.
and I say it like that because
Hmm.
at one point, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, you've been through this, but at one point I was searching for my dream job.
Right.
I was searching for my dream job. I was like, I'm an educated Black woman. I'm going to look for my
Right.
dream job and get all the things and all the things. And couldn't find my dream job. Couldn't find my dream job. Couldn't find my dream job. Finally, I was working in a space where I'm like, yes, this is my dream job. I'm working with people and doing this work. And
Hmm.
I will tell you, the same way I was helping individuals in that role go through some of their toxic pieces and things like that, I was going through dealing with a toxic workplace at the same time.
Right.
And it was very hard and it was very heavy up to, I will never forget this, one of the last clients I've ever saw at that role. I myself had a full on panic attack,
Oh,
full
wow.
on panic attack. And the thing
Yeah.
is, you know, the ironic thing is, I knew it was coming. I can identify it. I can do all the
Mhm.
things that I tell, clients to. Let's stop, let's
Everybody.
identify. I can do all the
Mhm.
things. I'm like, it's because of this, and this is my fear, and the fear is irrational. I can intellectualize it in that moment,
Right.
but I couldn't get myself out of it. And that is when I knew that no, I can't continue doing this. Right. Thank
Right.
God at that point, there was another colleague of mine that I was pretty close with where I literally walked into their office and I'm like, I am having a panic attack. I need you to do this, 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 and this to me right now. And they were literally like, Natasha, let go of the control. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And just those words, how powerful those are. Right. When we
Yeah.
hear them for someone else or when we utter them to someone else, I got you.
Right.
And it was that moment where I was like, no, this is not my dream job. And I said a
I,
few other choice words. And then I was like, that's it. I'm going to go make my dream job. I'm going to
there
go
you
make
go.
my dream job. I'm going to go make my dream job. So ultimately,
Mhm.
starting the company became an act of service to myself to make sure that I was creating my own dream job.
That's amazing.
That's literally what it was. And a part, and I will be very, very straight up and honest. This is a real conversation. Part of me
Yes.
was like, yeah, I'm going to do this and get back at everybody. Just
There
to
you
be
go.
real. I'm
Sometimes,
going to,
sometimes that has to be the fuel. Sometimes that is the fuel that gets you over the hump.
that gets you over the hump. Yes, it
Yes.
was the watch this. I'm going to go create my dream job and all of you are going to know
That's
and
right.
all of that. All of
That's
that.
right.
And then I will tell you, as things started picking up, and at that time I was a solo practitioner, a solo business, and things started picking up, and people started knowing about me and wanting to work with me, and different people reaching out for me to be on their platforms, all of that. And
Hmm.
then I had a long waiting list, and then I started to hire other clinicians to join the team. Right,
Oh,
and being very strategic on who I wanted to have on the team.
right.
Right. And the same thing as things grew, then I had students reaching out for me to supervise them and train them in the ways that I work and in the different frameworks. And things started to grow and grow and grow. And I feel
Hmm.
like now I'm in a completely different place than what I was when I started. Because
Right.
as you said, right, I needed that fuel to get over the hump,
Hmm.
but that wasn't the same fuel that I'm using to maintain and to
Exactly.
build and to scale.
Right.
Right? Fuel is long gone. That's why I like telling the story now because it's kind of fun. Now, right? I'm not
Right.
jaded anymore. I'm not hurt
Right.
anymore.
Right.
I've done my healing in terms of that. But I feel like it's a fun story now because it's like
It is.
this is where it started.
Right.
And it
Right.
got me going. It was it was like the special fuel, the nos that I needed to like push that car forward. But
Right.
now I get to maintain and I continue to drive and maintain and
Right.
build and scale. Right. And what's keeping me now is the feedback from the clients that we work with.
There you go. That's what makes it all worth it.
That's what makes it all worth it. And
It
especially the
is.
last couple of years where we've won 2 years in a row the Canadian Choice Award for best psychotherapy
Awesome.
practice in our
Congratulations.
area. Thank you, for 2025 and 2026.
That
So
is
it's
awesome.
like the work that we're doing, the programs that we're pioneering and we're putting out
Right.
there, people are seeing this and like this is what is needed, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it became an act of service because I needed my dream job. So I was like,
I
listen,
love
I can't
it.
find it. I'm gonna go build it. I'm gonna build it.
I love it. I love it. Yes. So with that said, then, um, how did your commitment to impact shape how you built your values, boundaries, and the vision?
Yes. Love this question, especially right now. I'm in the space of
Mhm.
strategic planning for the rest of this year and for
Okay.
next year, right? So I'm in that space. So when I
Right.
think of um that vision, the vision has shifted bits and
Mhm.
pieces, right? Like my 5 year plan now is different from what my 5 year plan was maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
But what has always been stable is the value behind it, right?
Okay.
The value that people matter,
They do.
that
Very much.
people matter, that there are people who are still struggling to be seen, to be
Yes.
heard, to be appreciated, to be loved, to be validated. And those are such big pillars of what I do.
Right.
And, ensuring that people do have the resources to thrive. It's not
Mhm.
only about those material resources, but those inner self resources,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that has always been at the forefront, always at the forefront. So even with the last story in terms of like starting the company,
Right.
in that work that I was doing, I did not feel seen and heard and appreciated and valued and cared for in that role. So I was like, I'm making my own dream job. And in
That's
making that
right.
dream job, it's that I want to make sure that people feel this way in when they access our services. So whether it is our psychotherapy services, our workplace wellness services, when they
Right.
come and see me speak in different platforms, I want them to know that I see you. We
Right.
care for you. We see the
Right.
humanity, but we also see the hurt. We also see the hope.
Right.
So that's always been always that piece, the
And
driving force.
that is so important. That is very important. So, what did you refuse to compromise, even when it would have been easier or more profitable to do so?
Oof, yes. Oh, the integrity,
Yes.
right? It's the integrity because you know, there's a lot of other things that could have been profitable,
Yes.
right? I will tell you, running a practice with clinicians and an admin team and lawyer and accountant, they take real money. They
Mm,
take a they take a big hit to the operational costs.
they do.
For those entrepreneurs out there, you know what I'm talking about. They take a
Yes.
big hit, big hit. But it is the integrity, right? And
Mhm.
it's the piece that I'm not going to I'm not going to sell myself. I'm not going to sell my soul
Right.
to do this work that I want to show up authentically. And that's the piece, right? Like doing this work as a professional, regulated professional psychotherapist, and also being a business owner.
Right.
There's a lot of times there's this piece on putting myself out there, that visibility, the marketing piece, the sales piece,
Right.
but it's always remembering, and it's always me going back to remember that
Mhm.
it's not so much that I am selling health, it's so much that people are looking for it. People don't
Right.
have those safe spaces to go. People are not feeling seen and heard by even some other. excuse me, health
Mm.
practitioners. We
Right.
live in a world that values likes and follows and all of those things, right? So it's always me reminding myself that me showing up means that someone else is going to have access to be healed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the piece of always kind of, because there's like a sales piece that makes you think of, not fun or nice salesy things, but it's
Yeah.
really putting self out there, letting people know that there are services that exist that
Right.
are there to actually support and that follow integrity in all of
Yeah. And integrity, yes, that ooh.
them. Mm-hmm.
Such a major intricate piece.
Yes.
Yes, that is the platform that it should all be built on, because you're right. There's so many different ways to go about it, but you want that in place. You have to have that in place.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I want to also now talk about womanhood care and
Mm-hmm.
leadership. How has your lived experience, excuse me, as a woman influenced the way you approach community work and leadership?
So it's so interesting, right? When I was a child, my
Mm-hmm.
mom used to say, Natasha, you have three strikes against you.
Mm-hmm.
You're Black, you're a woman, and you're English speaking. I grew up in Montreal, which is a very French speaking province in Canada. So these are the
Uh-huh.
three strikes: woman, Black, English speaking. So, yeah, that's what my mom said. And so that piece around being a woman is always there, right? Where
Right.
it's like, if this is an identity that I hold, but there's a strike against it, that means that I have to show up not only in my womanhood and femininity, but also in this is a woman who can stand in what she's doing,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that lived experience absolutely impacts the work that I do, the leadership that I hold, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times what I do, I do give back some of the work that I do in supporting like non-for-profits. I go back and speak with women's groups, right?
Okay.
To make sure that they are also empowered. Like there's a group that I support at a non-for-profit here in the Brampton area where I'm helping them as part of it's like an entrepreneurial group, but I go in and talk about like imposter syndrome, how that shows up, how it's in your
Right.
body, and how you're making. I want to make sure that you are you recognize it, but it doesn't define who you are,
Right.
right?
Right.
That these
Right.
external labels that we're given, they don't define us. They impact us. Don't get me
They do.
wrong. Very much they impact us. Let's be real. They impact
Right.
us, how we show up, our mental health, but ultimately it doesn't define the core of who you
True.
are. So,
True.
those lived experiences that I've gone through and those earlier messages, they're very fundamental to what I
Mm-hmm.
do and how I've shown up and why I've been very much involved with a lot of different women's organizations.
Right. Okay. And we need it. Let me just say that we need it.
Yes, yes.
um, and it's when I sit here and I think about it, because we show up in so many different ways for so many different people, but we don't show up for ourselves. So to have
Yes.
someone actually show up for us and to
Mm-hmm.
actually help, regulate that and give us, almost like give us permission to
Yes.
be there for ourselves,
Yes. Yes. That's
you know.
exactly what it is. It's giving our it's ourselves giving ourselves permission and
Mhm.
allowance to be present.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what emotional labor comes with the work, and how do you honor it without becoming depleted?
Yes. The emotional labor is always there.
Mhm.
The work that I do it's emotional labor. It's holding. It's like we
Right.
said before, right? It's
Right.
holding a lot of people's stuff. There's a responsibility there to
Mhm.
holding someone's stuff. So The work that comes with emotional labor is the recognition that it's
Right.
heavy. And it's the recognition that there are going to be days when I cannot, full stop, when I cannot, right?
Right.
There are going to be days, like I was saying to my assistant today, that, the weekend was good, but I needed to get things done. But all I was able to do was to sit and do nothing. And there are
Right.
days when I actually, that is the most that's being done at this moment, right? Just sitting and do nothing because the emotional labor is there. Um,
Right.
it's holding a lot, but it's also recognizing in order to continue holding, we need those down days. Those days where you're not talking, where you're not helping someone, or not problem solving or figuring it out.
Right.
I laugh with my husband and son because I'm like, don't talk to me. I've had a long day. I've helped a lot of people. I've talked a lot. No talking anymore.
I used to tell my children when I had those moments,
Yeah.
I'm not mommy right now. Mommy,
Yes.
I'm not mommy.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Because
Yes.
I say that to my son. I'm like, it's after 8 o'clock. Mommy is done. And you
Yes.
can't call me Natasha, so just don't call me.
I like that. I do. And it was so funny because when they find, like, when it would catch on to them, sometimes they would be like, are you mommy right now? Mommy, are you mommy? I'm like,
Yeah.
not right now. No, mommy needs this moment to be Sherry.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's important. It's
Mhm.
important because that's an identity pieces, right? You have to be Sherry. I have to be Natasha. Everyone listening, you have to be yourselves at some time without having someone needing you. It's tired.
Right.
It's there's an emotional labor to being needed all the time. It
Yeah.
feels good on one side, but on one side, it could be
It's
a,
strange.
a heavy labor and it's
It
draining,
is.
exhausting.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
So in what ways do you believe women bring something distinct and necessary to spaces of serving and change?
Yeah. I think women, we bring a lot. We
Uh-huh.
bring a lot. We bring so much. We're able to bring our perspectives, right?
Yeah.
We're able to bring that, and for some people more than other, and some not, but like that there's this nurturing and there's this care and there's this like being able to problem solve. We've been, the reality is we've been women in a world that honors patriarchy, just to put it plainly.
Yes.
And there's a
Yes.
lot of misogyny in the
Yes.
world that we navigate. And the thing is, if you think about it, every single woman in this world has or will experience misogyny, unfortunately. And we're still able to be present and
Yeah.
multitask and do things for ourselves and our loved ones and our families and our children and right. We are very much women, like the pillar and backbone of a lot of individuals and a lot of communities and a lot of organizations. When we think about even caregiving, a lot of
Yes. Yeah.
women are caregivers to parents and grandparents, while being caregivers to spouses and children and other individuals.
Yep.
So we've really been, as women, we've really been able to look and nurture and understand and be there, be present while dealing with really hard stuff.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. That is
Yeah, yeah,
definitely true.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sherry, can I ask that I
Uh-huh.
know there's a whole other section.
Uh-huh.
Are we okay to stop here for this recording? I'm only asking because I actually have to jump on another live podcast
Oh,
recording at 7 o'clock.
no, 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 that's fine. That's fine. Yes, we can do that. And because we can always pick that up since we have this series that we have going, so we can always pick that up.
Okay, yeah, because then it
Yeah.
leaves us with 6, 7, and 8 that we can jump back in.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
But it was awesome talking to you.
Yeah, no,
Love
it's
it.
great speaking with you as well. So much good nuggets.
Yes. Okay, well, have fun, enjoy.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. We'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
I see your crown, just don't you hide it. You've been through storms.